This is Randal Wimmer, and welcome back to the Entrepreneur Sound Off podcast. So hopefully if you watched the first two podcasts, then you are still hanging with us as we continue to figure this thing out. I'm going to talk today about a topic that I am asked about all the time. And the question comes in a lot of different forms, but ultimately is hey, is this a good name for my company? So what goes into naming your company? And a lot of people think that this is a very personal thing, and it is. Trust me. My first company was part of the family. It really was. It was like having another kid. And to this very day, it's like it's part of our family. It really is. Just this identity and the role that it played. My kids grew up with analytic strategies, and it was like a sibling to them. Even though it is a personal decision, you also want to be successful. And I'm telling you, your name is one of the most important decisions you'll make from a marketing standpoint. And this is why I say that. Your company name can either support your goals and objectives, be neutral towards your goals or objectives, and even work against you while you pursue your goals and objectives. It's not a throwaway decision. It really isn't. I tell people to use this common litmus test. Whatever industry you're in, look at the 100, 200, $300 million size company in your industry, and does your name sound just like theirs? You want to sound just like every other $200 million a year company when you're trying to penetrate the market. Why? Because if people are associating you with a $200 million company and you're competing against small businesses, for example, in the federal government small business set-aside program, you have one heck of an advantage because it is helping you overcome one of the largest hurdles that you'll ever face as a small business, and that is a lack of maturity. So one of the ways that your name can help you is that it can add to your element of maturity. Your company name should align and hopefully provide positive connotations to both your vertical and horizontal markets. It should be scalable. It should convey something positive about your company. It should be pronounceable. There's all kinds of different things that your name should be. However, the most important thing that you can do when picking your name is to avoid a landmine. Now, one of the most obvious landmines is the vanity plate name. Now, a lot of these people, when I call it a vanity plate, maybe that's not a very fair name to it because it sounds like these people have big giant egos, and in some cases that is the case, but in most it's not. It's the fact that, hey, my last name is Wimmer and I'm launching a lawn care company, so Wimmer Lawn Care LLC makes sense, let's move forward. But that's a landmine. There's only one caveat to what I just said. Wimmer Lawn Care does nothing for my brand. Why? Because Wimmer's not a positive connotation. It doesn't convey a level of expertise. It doesn't do anything for my lawn care business. Why? Because I'm not branded. Now, if you were a branded individual, and what I'm talking about, if you're a 3 or 4 star general, or if you're some type of secretary or undersecretary and everybody knows you, then go for it. Makes a lot of sense. Ross Perot, one of his last companies that he had was Perot Systems. Why? Because Perot was a brand. Everybody knew who Ross Perot was at the time. And when you heard Perot Systems, you say, oh, hey, this is backed by an entrepreneur that has been extraordinarily successful, doing lots of different things. And it gave it credibility. Now, if I came up with the name Wimmer Systems, people would say, who the hell's Wimmer? So that's the only caveat that I have when I say avoid the vanity plate name. And not only does it not help you, it can actually hurt you. And this is probably as good a time as any to address how that can happen. I'm going to go all the way back to your 13, 14-year-old self, and we are going to pretend that you have a lawnmower and you mow lawns, and you have a good friend named Timmy, and he's walking down the street, and he comes up to you and say, hey Randy, do you want to make a buck or two? I say, sure, I'm always up for some money. And he says, I got a good deal for you. You can make $20 if you mow Mrs. Hudson's lawn. Wow, $20. $20 is a lot of money. Well, maybe not so much now, but back in the day, $20 was a lot of money. I say, great, that's wonderful. Can I do it now? He says, yeah, sure. Jump on it. So I run home, get my lawnmower, fill it up with gas. I get my weed whacker, and I'm running over to Mrs. Hudson's lawn. And I start mowing it, and I'm pushing that lawnmower as fast as I can. And she's got this really big bank in her backyard, but it's worth it. I'm pushing and I'm sweating and I'm getting covered with grass, and then I'm weed whacking all along her fence, and I'm trimming, and I really want to do a good job because, hey, I'm going to be making $20. I even sweep her walkway and patio. So I work really hard, and I'm hot and I'm sweaty, and I'm just really excited because I'm going to be making a full $20 on this thing. And I start to get worried. I'm thinking like, hey, is Timmy pulling a fast one here? And then at about the time that I finish up and I'm packing up my gear, I'm still in Mrs. Hudson's front lawn, I see Timmy walking down the road. And now I'm thinking like, hey, Timmy, where's my money? And he says, hey, Randy, don't sweat it. I got it. Don't worry. Just stay right here. So he walks up to Mrs. Hudson's front door, knocks on it, and this sweet blue-haired lady comes up to the door, and she says, oh, Timmy, you did such a great job. I can't believe what a great job you did mowing my lawn. Oh, and I love your company name, Timmy Inc. He. You are just such a clever boy. Wow, Timmy, I am just so impressed with you. You just did such a great and wonderful job. Well, here's the $40 for mowing the lawn, and here's a $10 tip because you did such a great job. Are you ready to do it again next week, Timmy? Yes, ma'am. So Timmy walks off her porch with $50 in his hand, comes up to me. Now I'm covered with grass clippings. I'm sweating. I'm itching. I got a few bug bites. I got a blister on one of my feet. I'm sunburned. And he hands me that $20, and that $20 bill just doesn't seem quite as rewarding as what it was initially. And it bothers me for a couple reasons. Now, the obvious reason is that I just saw Timmy pocket $30 without even breaking a sweat. Now, logically, I understand that he must have done some work to have created this situation. And I can understand and appreciate that. However, I'm not necessarily thinking too logically. As sweat is dripping from my nose and I'm just covered with grass. That irks me a little bit, but what really gets me, and this is the honest truth, it's all the praise that he got for the work that I did. And as a small business owner, you've got so many issues that you got to manage. This is the issue that you really got to be careful in handling. If I was working for IBM, I would be really excited to see IBM's stock price go up due to my hard work and effort and business development. Let's say I'm a business development executive and I am just crushing it. Forecasts are increasing, revenue's increasing, all these great and wonderful things, and stock price is going through the roof. And I'm taking a step back and I'm looking at that stock price and I'm taking pride in it. Wow. Now, I know that stock value is making a lot of people rich, but they're anonymous to me. I don't know who they are. All I'm doing is I'm doing a good job and my company's growing and people are benefiting from it, and that is great. In a small business, it's not like that. I Now let's shift gears and say I'm working for Timmy Incorporated, and we've moved on from lawn care to business analytics. And it's a privately owned company. It's owned by Timmy, and I'm crushing it. I'm doing business development. Our forecasts are screaming through the roof. Our revenue's increasing. Our profitability is just growing hand over fist. Everything is great. Now, I'm not taking a step back and saying, wow, when Timmy first started this company, he was driving around a 1978 Ford Pinto, and now he's driving around the Lamborghini and has 3 beach houses. I'm not taking pride in that. I'm a little bit resentful. Why? Because I'm working just as hard as Timmy in my mind, and there's a tremendous disparity between his income that's buying him multiple beach homes in a Lamborghini and me driving around, a Corolla. So there's that issue, and that's going to be a tough issue, and that's going to be one that you're going to have to manage. There's just there's no way around that. That is something that you got to manage. What I'm recommending with your name is don't add salt to it. Don't add salt to a wound that will likely be there. And this is what I mean by that. Timmy Incorporated, who just made $50 and walking off that porch. Now, what really irked me the most was all the praise that he got. It was Timmy Inc. Timmy got the praise. I was doing all the work in my mind, but I didn't get any of the praise. I didn't get any of the recognition. I wasn't appreciated. I didn't feel valued because I wasn't named or anything like that. If it was the Timmy Group, I'd just be part of the group. If I was Timmy and Associates, I'd be an associate. Why not name your company Lawn Care Superheroes? Where everybody can be a superhero. That defrays some of the praise that the owner is going to naturally and inherently, implicitly receive down to the other people into the company. It can help build a team by all the employees being superheroes. So that's just one of those things you just want to avoid. Don't add salt to the wound that you're going to have to manage really aggressively anyway as you become a small business owner, and you're scraping the profit from your company's activities and giving other people salaries and possibly a bonus, but there's no comparison between what you're making as the founder and owner versus what your employees are making. So don't rub any more salt in that wound than you have to by coming with a vanity plate where it looks like you're getting all of the praise and you are devaluing their presence in your company. Now, the next mistake that I see is that people will come up with basically a meaningless name. Then the name will have no meaning, or it'll have a meaning to them, but to nobody else. Like, oh, my grandmother was called this, and she really liked that, and this is the Latin word for it, and they'll come up with a story, and there's about 15 dots that have to be connected. But at the end of the day, nobody connect their company name to a service, to a product, to a value. It's meaningless. The name has zero description. Now, everybody will counter that and say, oh, but look at GoDaddy or look at Amazon. Those are meaningless names that have nothing to do with their brand. And that is 100% true. And you can do that too if you got tens of millions of dollars for branding. For example, GoDaddy, when they launched, they were doing Super Bowl commercial after Super Bowl commercial, and they ain't cheap. Same way with Under Armour. Under Armour, which is actually a really good name, but they had a marketing campaign when it was launched that never mentioned their product. Now just think about that. Now you can do those clever things if you got so much financial backing that you can really do something like that. Now, if you got that much money to do some type of marketing campaign to bring knowledge to a meaningless name, then just skip the whole business thing and buy your small private island now. Just retire, be done with it, because that's how much marketing it takes in order to be able to give value and meaning to a meaningless name. So as a startup, If you're doing it on a shoestring, which most small business owners are, don't go that route. The next common mistake that I see is that a company owner will create a name that is perfect for what it's doing now. And then as they start to grow, that name just no longer fits. It's like Jiffy Lube. If you want to only do oil changes, that's great and wonderful. Now, Jiffy Lube, I believe, is trying to get into the auto collision repair business. Jiffy Lube is a lousy name for that. Why? Because they do oil changes. That's what they do. Their name even says that. So you don't want to fall into that realm. Have a name that adds value to what it is that you're doing today, but it's also scalable. Now I know that's kind of a Janus-faced statement of what I just said. Have it pertain to what you're doing today, but it's scalable for what you want to do tomorrow. Well, you can do that. Usually you do that in the form of a positive attribute. You're analytic, or you're cleared, or you're secure, or you're strategic, something like that. Now that can pertain to what you're doing today, and it's scalable to what you want to do tomorrow. The other thing is just coming up with clever little names, and they sound really good when you're a company. And I see a lot of veterans do this, vet biz, whatever. It'll say, vets for pets, or they'll come up with something that pertains to veterans. Now, that's an okay company if you wanted to be about a 5 or 6, 7 person, company. But I always ask people this question: how many $500 million a year company, $1 billion a year companies have the words, have some sort of clever veterans, phrase in it? And the answer to that is none. So you want to make sure that your name is scalable. Vets for hire. I'd much rather have a Mantech. Mantech is going to scale. Vets for hire is really good if you want to be a really, really, really small business for the rest of your life. But it's not going to scale. Mantech, Manpower, those type of companies, they're scalable because they have meaningful names beyond what's typically associated for a small business. Another common mistake that I see is that people will literally provide a sentence for a name. It's like, come on. And I ask people this question: I can't think of a single 4-word named company that's large. I just can't think of a single one. I can think of very, 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 very few 3-word successful large companies. Most successful large businesses are either 1-word names or 2-word names. So when you come up with a phrase or vets for hire or something like that that has 3 or more names in it, that's a red flag in my opinion. Now, can it work? You bet. I even had a company called Secure Enterprise Analysis. You can do it, but that was one of my deficits when I was evaluating names. That was something that was holding it back. That was a detractor from the name. But I also liked the acronym that it created, SEA. So I felt okay with it, and I decided to go with it. But if I had to do all over again, I probably wouldn't have made that decision. And that's the other thing too. If they're too long, they're always going to be reduced to an acronym. And then acronyms, you lose everything. If you had a good descriptive 3 or 4 word name and you reduce it to an acronym, well then now you've gotten nothing from it, because CFPL means nothing to anybody. Now, the other thing is I see folks come up with names and they're really clever, but for the love of God, I don't know how to pronounce them. And I'm thinking, nobody's going to do business with a company that they can't tell their buddy, who to go get a contract signed with. You want to make sure that you have a company name that people can pronounce. Now, those are the things to avoid. Now, what you should try to do, come up with a name that adds value for example, that's concise, it's descriptive, it projects maturity, it's scalable, it's pronounceable, and I haven't mentioned this one yet, but this, in my mind, is growing more and more important, and that is alphabetical order. Now, we haven't seen a yellow book probably in about a decade to 2 decades, because it's just everything is so easily found on our smartphones or on the internet. We don't need a yellow book. Alphabetical order and looking at the yellow pages and seeing AAA plumbing, that's no longer a thing. I thought, but it is. Now, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and I was really, really, really lucky. I can't take credit for this. My first company, Analytic Strategies, starts with an A. That was not by design. It just happened to start with an A. And without question, I have literally made millions of dollars because of that. Here's how. My company, whenever it was listed on a list of contract holders, it was either number 1 or number 2. I remember bidding on a contract with Northrop Grumman, and Northrop Grumman had some no kidding strategic partners. They had Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. They had some serious heavy hitters, and when they listed their partners, guess who they listed first? Little Analytic Strategies, and I had 0 revenue at the time. I had 0 employees. I guess you could count me as an employee even though I had a day job. But they listed on this massive bid my company first amongst all their partners ahead of some literally multi-billion-dollar companies. Now, getting back to how it made me millions of dollars, and again, I'm not joking about that, is a lot of times companies, they need to partner with companies that are contract holders. And usually what happens is this company, they have a contract, and their contract is being moved to a specific contract vehicle that they're not on. So what do? They get a printout of all the companies that are on that contract vehicle, and they approach each one of them till one of them gives them a deal. And the best deal that you can get when you're in that situation is 49% work share, because the prime always has to do 51%. So I had a company approach me, and I was either number 1 or number 2 on the list, but they called, they spoke with me, and they said, look, we have this contract is going over to to a contract vehicle that you're on, and we're just wondering, if you'd be a good partner with us, if you'd be interested in maybe partnering with us, making us your primary sub. We'll write the proposal. We know exactly what's going on. I said, let's just stop talking right here. We'll give you 49%. And they said, what? I said, yep. I said, you won't get a better deal. It's 49% is as much as you could legally get, and we're a great company, and we have the contract vehicle, and you're the prime. This sounds like it's a good deal. And they said, okay, you just saved us a lot of phone calls. So next thing you know, they ended up writing the proposal as the incumbent. They gave it to us. We did our pricing with it. We slapped it on our cover sheet. We submitted it. Voila. Next thing you know, we're sitting on like a $25 million prime contract, and 51% of it is going straight to us. We literally made millions of dollars off of that contract alone that was brought to us, because our company name started with an A, and we were number 1 or number 2 on the list. How do you come up with a good name? Well, again, I'm a geek. I got a master's degree in operations research, which is basically a master's degree in geekness. So what I recommend that people do is they create a spreadsheet, and they come up with names, and then they rank them. And they score them based upon certain attributes. Its conciseness or length, its descriptiveness to the vertical and horizontal markets, to how mature it sounds, to its scalability, to its pronounceability, to its alphabetical order. And what you do is you score each name against each one of those attributes, and then you weight the attributes based upon what you consider to be the most important ones. For example, if you think that maturity is number 1, then you'll weight that a lot more heavily than you will name conciseness or alphabetical order. So maybe you're not going with a letter beginning letter that starts with an A. Maybe you're going to one that starts with a C or a D. So, maybe your dynamic, strategies or dynamic analysis or something like that. And then you have this ranked order of names. Now, what I'm about ready to tell you, a lot of folks disagree with, but I feel very, very strongly about this. And that is I would start at that list, start with the top one, and see if the .com domain is available. If it's available, well, you just got your first highest scored name. If it's not, go to the second one. So basically, I'm telling you to go to your highest scored candidate name that has a .com domain available. Now, people always ask me, Randy, why is a .com domain so important? Here's why. Let's say the Cyber Solutions was your name. And of course, cybersolutions.com, I can guarantee you is gone. However, cybersolutions.tv is available. If you have a cybersolutions.tv domain, website, and every email that you send, randy.wimmer@cybersolutions.tv or .us or .whatever other than .com, people are looking at you sideways. I heard this phrase not too long ago that domain names is like buying real estate in the virtual world. The .com domains are the really nice areas. All the other ones, the .tvs, the .us, the .biz. Now, you can come up with a nice looking house, but you're in a bad part of the neighborhood. And location is the most important three things when it comes to real estate. And .com is a great location. So I never really looked at it that way. I never really looked at buying a website domain is like buying real estate in the virtual world. So that's a good way to look at it. If somebody else has it and it's going to cost you a few bucks to get it, maybe that's not a bad investment. Because I really do believe that a .com address has instant credibility. There's just something off, something a little fishy sounding when you got a .tv or a .biz or something like that. So, in summary, your name, your corporate name, is your first source of marketing. People spend gazillions of dollars on marketing campaigns, and your name does it for you for free. That's it, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I will be talking to you soon.